arms folded, flag hangs on the wall. Traded steel and thunder for silence in the hall. The mission's over, the deployment's done, they said. But the war inside my head, it hasn't left its stain. Got the handshake, the thank you, the ticket back home. Now I'm standing on the sidewalk, feeling utterly alone. This freedom is a cage that I can't seem to break. Every single morning it's a future I might forsake. Lost the rhythm, lost the drive, the structure disappeared. The invisible wounds are the ones that I truly feared. I'm walking on a wire, the pressure's coming down. Is there anyone listening in this lonely town? Full speed ahead after battle.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Full Speed Ahead After Battle. I am your host, Josh McCabe. Let's get to it. We all know the number, 22. It's become a rallying cry, a statistic, a hashtag. Somewhere along the way, the weight behind it got dulled by repetition. But here's the part most people never hear. When you widen the lens to include our brothers and sisters in law enforcement and the civilians fighting the same invisible battles, the trauma, the injury, the identity collapse, that number jumps to 30 lives lost every single day. 30. An entire platoon gone every single day. And here's the gut punch. By the time we finish this broadcast, statistically, someone out there will have reached their breaking point. Someone who served, someone who protected, someone who mattered. That's why tonight we're digging into the great transition, that brutal, disorienting leap from service to civilian life. The moment when the uniform comes off, the mission disappears, and the world suddenly feels too quiet, too slow. It's one of the biggest catalysts behind veteran suicide, and pretending otherwise is a luxury we don't have. We're talking mental health. We're talking prevention. We're talking about the stuff people whisper about that never say aloud, because suck it up isn't a strategy. It's a death sentence. Now let's shift gears a little bit, but not too far away. Yesterday marked the official debut of the Petty Officer Pill Pack comic. And if you haven't seen it yet, you better buckle up. This isn't your typical glossy, sanitized military comic. It's a sailor navigating the civilian world after battle, one maddening VA appointment at a time. It's dark, it's funny, but it's also painfully accurate. PillPack is the embodiment of every veteran who's ever sat in a waiting room for 4 hours only to be told their paperwork was filed under the wrong moon phase. He's the guy who's trying to rebuild life while juggling prescriptions, appointments, and the constant feeling of being a stranger in his own country. We're going to be following his journey, the wins, the losses, the absurdity, because sometimes humor is the only way to survive the chaos. Make sure you like, follow, and share to keep up with PillPack's misadventures and stay in the loop on all of our upcoming guests. And trust me, you don't want to miss where this story goes. So let's recap some of last week's events. Last week had me riding high at the Armed Forces Bowl game. Patriotism everywhere, flags waving, vets connecting, families cheering, and that electric energy that reminds us why we serve still means something in this country. It was the kind of atmosphere that fills your tank back up. And then reality. After 6 months on short-term disability, today was my first day back at work. And let me tell you, nothing humbles a grown man faster than being defeated by a forgot password link. I got locked out of every system I own, every login, every portal, every tool. I became an employee in name only, a digital ghost wandering the corporate afterlife, haunting the login screen like some IT cursed spirit. If you ever tried to re enter the workforce after time away, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's a reminder that the transition isn't just emotional, it's logistical, bureaucratic, and sometimes downright ridiculous. But let's get to our guest, because tonight we're coming in strong. Joining us is Sergeant BigCountry Conwell, veteran, para-athlete, and a man who stared down the transition and refused to blink. He's taken the chaos, the pain, and the uncertainty and turned it into fuel. He's competing, he's inspiring, he's proving that the story doesn't end when the uniform comes off. Changes chapters. We're diving into his journey, his mindset, his battles and victories he's carving out along the way. If you're struggling with your own transition, this is the conversation you need to hear. So, all right, let's get into it. Full speed ahead.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
All right, BigCountry, what's going on? Welcome to the show.
What's going on, brother? Thank you for having me on. We definitely have been anticipating this one, so thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'm glad you could be here tonight. I mean, you're probably the biggest person I've had on the show, and not in fame wise, but man, you're a mountain of a man out there. So let's get behind it. Tell us the story behind the mountain, the man, the BigCountry Conwell. Who are you?
Yeah, man, you know, I get that a lot, and it really doesn't compute until I start looking at pictures that I take with other people. And then it's like, yeah. I guess they're right. I guess I'm a little big. I don't know, man. You know, I'm just like any other veteran out there that's transitioned out. You know, it's everybody has their own different battles. They have a lot of similarities, but they're different as well. You know, coming out, but mine kind of ended very abruptly. January 7th, 2014, I was on my way to get my men some lunch on Fort Riley and hit black ice, ran off a 150-foot ravine and crushed both my legs. I lost the left one above the knee. The right one is a limb salvage, 30 screws, 4 plates, and a tenant rod in between the knee and the ankle that they use to put that leg back together. I cannot feel my right foot, so I don't have the privilege of using my toes and stuff to balance. It's like Mr. Deeds. You could take a fire poker and stick it right through, and I wouldn't feel a damn thing. You know, it was after waking up in the ICU, that was my initial shock, I guess, per se, because I don't remember the accident. I'm very lucky that I don't, because I was told it was pretty horrific. You know, bones sticking out, blood all over the place. Luckily, it happened at lunchtime, so Trooper Drives is a very busy road on Fort Riley at that time. So that was my lucky star per se, because a lot of people seen it. So the reaction time to get to me was not long at all. But you know, I guess my first initial thought was, you know, what was I going to do with my children? You know, being military and, you know, running around jungle gyms and baseball fields and hide and go seek and stuff like that. That was my initial thought was, you know, what was I going to do with my family? Spent a total of a whole year in the hospital. Started out at KU Med, then went down to the Audie Murphy VA hospital in San Antonio, where I got some of the best therapeutic care the entire time I was, you know, in a facility. That VA hospital right there is pretty amazing. Very nice people, very understanding, very uplifting, to say. The room I had was pretty big, so it was really nice to hear them. Hey, you're getting out of the hospital today. We're going to the mall so you can you can decorate your room. That was pretty awesome. But it was something else, man, to be in your dream job and all of a sudden it just come to a complete halt, and life changing, man. So it was pretty crazy.
So what'd you do in the Army?
I was a generator mechanic. I was wanting to pick a job that I would be able to use out in the civilian sector, and everybody needs power. So did that, and while we were downrange, I think there was 4 or 5 of us that would rotate out gunning for our commander. Every time he went outside the wire, for me, it was usually Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, riding up and down Tampa, man, from 5 Cal through to Baghdad, quite a few days a week. And of course, being a non-commissioned officer, being an NCO, you wear multiple hats anyway. You just don't do one job. You do 15 other jobs, and working in a motor pool, you don't just work on one thing. You work on everything.
Right.
Hazmat NCOIC, safety NCOIC, amongst other things.
So did any of that translate for you to when you got out of the service? Did you carry any of that over into another role?
That was the plan. But the plan, I worked construction prior to going in. So the plan was to come out and be a safety manager for a construction company. I got a degree in hazmat while I was in, and I went through a lot of OSHA classes. I'm an expert in safety and health through OSHA, through the construction industry. So I was going to be one of those guys you hated to see on the job site, because I was going to cost your company a lot of money if I found something wrong. But I use absolutely none of it nowadays. Like it's all out the water. You know how the old saying goes: if you don't use it, you lose it. I don't remember a lot of it because I ain't used it in 10 years.
So then, let's get down into it. Yeah, you had a pretty bad accident when you got in, and then at some point the uniform comes off, right? And you still get to use the VA and everything, but when that uniform came off, what was the first moment that you realized that transition from service member to civilian was going to be harder than anyone prepared you for?
It was my homecoming party. I was told to go to Bojangles to get some sweet tea because Bojangles has some of the best sweet tea around. And I went through the drive-thru and I told the lady, I was like, "Ma'am, I'd like a gallon of sweet tea." And she's like, "Well, we only sell half gallons, sir." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'll take a gallon's worth." And she continued to argue with me that they only sold half gallons. Well, I'm sitting here thinking common sense says if I want a gallon's worth, you would give me 2 of them. But she continued to argue with me that they only sold half gallons. And I snapped. Like I literally snapped. I went off on her. I was like, "Are you a freaking idiot? A gallon's worth would be 2. And when I pulled up to the drive-through window, the manager was like, "Sir, there was no reason for you to be that rude, to my customer, to my employee, blah, blah, blah." And I just continued. I was like, "Well, I don't understand where your incompetence is when I tell you I want a gallon's worth. Why can't you say, okay, that means 2? That right there is where it hit. Because, we're used to being around people with a sense of purpose, and there was no sense of purpose in that situation. And that's when I knew. I was like, "Oh crap, this is going to be hard," like a lot of people say it was.
Yeah, I had something similar to that. When I first got out in 2011 and 2012, I went back to school to get a degree, right? And we're in a class and we're having, a debate, and a lot of these kids are straight out of high school, and we're having a debate on politics, things like that. And I said, and I forget exactly what it was at the time, but I said, when Barack said this is, what he actually meant and things like that. And somebody said, well, who's Barack? What does he have to do with politics? I'm like, you mean President Obama? Oh, that's who that is. I'm like, you just got out of high school. You don't even know the president's first and last name. So for me, that was I'm in the land of stupid now, because you would think you need to know something like that, the basic stuff, right? So yeah, I completely get of like, it's ingrained in us. Use your mind a little bit, right? Come on, a little common sense. So,
Absolutely.
Okay, so yeah, you came out, and obviously your life has changed with the limb loss and learning how to walk again and all of that. So how did that change your entire course of, the future for you at then?
Well, the first few years was not easy. In the very beginning of hospitalization, I'm having doctors tell me that, there's a good chance that I won't walk again. And if I did, it would be assisted with some type of walker or crutches, because of the significant damage to my right leg, and as much metal as in between, my kneecap and my ankle. I gained a lot of weight while I was in the hospital too. They did not manage my diet very well. So whenever they told me I could order food, I am not going to sit there and eat hospital food every day. So I'm ordering food from all over the place, and I'm getting therapy, but it's not, the PT that we're used to.
Right.
It's just physical therapy every day. And then you go back to your room, and I'm laying there playing video games and watching movies for an entire year. So, after getting out and, dealing with the reality that the dream job is gone and not being able to function with my family and my friends like I used to, that's when the darkness set in. Yeah. There was one previous suicide attempt in 2016. I stuck a 9mm in my mouth, and I pulled the trigger, and nothing happened. Not until I went to go put it up, and when I went to go put it up, it actually went off and went through my nightstand. Yeah, that was a moment. I had a service dog at that point in time, and my service dog, came over and started comforting me. My family backed off. My kids were still pretty young, so they didn't really know how to take everything. My family kind of backed off because they didn't know how to react, because they had already, some of them had already seen me, had a couple of flashbacks and stuff. So it was pretty dark. Shutting the blinds, closing the doors, and getting into things that I should have never gotten into. A little bit of substance abuse to try to numb the pain. We started working on a couple of things. Started a nonprofit, to help out vets through tattoo therapy that was a small success. Worked with Dr. Gabe Crenshaw, a doctor out of Santa Monica University, who actually came up with the idea of tattoo therapy from Eat Shrinks, a very brief TV show back in the day. Put on a couple of concerts in Greenville, South Carolina. There was some good moments in there, but it was just dark. And, I was sitting in the couch in this house. My shadow box is literally right there above my head. Mm-hmm. And it was September 2020. And I sat there and I looked at it, and I was like, you know what? I know what the problem is. I have absolutely done nothing for myself. This is my fault. This isn't the doctor's fault or the therapist's fault or anybody else's. This is mine. I've sat here and squandered in my self-pity, hoping for something just to come erase it all and start it over. And played pinball with the walls inside the house, going from the couch to the counter to the walls. And I taught myself how to walk within a couple of weeks. Actually got to surprise my son on his 20th birthday. He was in the kitchen, he was cooking. I was like, hey man, I'm gonna go use the bathroom real quick, and rolled into the dining room and slipped my leg on and come around the corner. And the look on his face was priceless. And just kind of started from there, man. Started dabbling in the gym a couple of days a week. Didn't go very often, because I'm still testing the waters and getting used to my balance and everything. And by February, the end of February of 2021, I was in the gym 5 days a week. I was weighing in at 415 pounds. And that's just where it took off, man. Working out every day, got my self-confidence back and was able to start doing things with my kids again. And, ultimately everything led to me finding the love of my life and getting my Paralympic license. Now I'm a para-athlete, currently ranked 3rd in the nation in men's seated disc, and life is just amazing now.
That's awesome. So first of all, I just want to say, I understand the suicide attempt. I'm happy that it failed, because I'm glad that you're still here, because, man, you're doing so many good things and helping veterans now. And that's what we all need. Right. And so I understand those are some dark days for you, but at that time you said you had a service dog, but is there something that you think might have helped you more, or your family, to see the signs before it came to that attempt? Is there something that you think that you want to tell people out there, like, look, if you're starting to feel this way, like I felt, go here, do this, or, family, look out for that. Is there something that you think could have helped?
It was the isolation. If I could have had somebody that would have really, if somebody would have really been paying attention, if you notice somebody really starting to isolate themselves, not talking to anybody, and just being there, then that's a sign, because at that point in time, you are left with nothing but your thoughts. And at that point in time, your thoughts aren't good. So it's like, well, nobody's here. Nobody's talking to me. Nobody's trying to help me out. So what's the point of me being here? So if you're in that part, then that's something you need to get out of. You need to involve yourself in something within your community, go work out, start a hobby, because once you start doing those things, you start meeting people, and there are people out there that care. It's not just a bunch of people that stare, because especially if you have a physical disability, that's one thing that you do need to get over. People are going to look, so you got to get out of that isolation. Isolating yourself from everybody is the worst thing that you can possibly do, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely that support system that we all need, right?
Yes,
absolutely. When you serve, you fight with an entire team, but you can't look out for yourself. You can't pull yourself out of that dark moment just, alone. You got to have those people looking out for you, just like you did when you served. So that's a good point. So, you got to have that support system of people around you, whether, it's another group of veterans, learn to play the guitar, athletics, hitting the gym buddies, something like that. That's what veterans need to realize, is you can't just sit at home alone. That's when those thoughts creep in, right? And alcohol definitely does not help with that. No. It just makes it 10 times worse. So
it does. You got that brief moment of, I feel great, everything seems right, but when that feeling goes away, your problems are still sitting right there. Substance abuse does not help in any kind of way whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about how you flip that script and become number 3 in the world in men's discus, man. All right. Be right back after these messages.
dizzy, spinning rapidly. To miss another beat is such a tragedy. Now this moment feels like all eternity. It should feel so comfortable. It's all in the secrets of the open hearts club. Tear it down, there is no need to scream and shout. When everything seems gray, seek reflection now. A peace of mind should not include deception's help. It should feel so comfortable. All eyes stare into the scene, leaving bad taste in our memories. How can we all find change? It's all in the secrets of the open hearts club.
Welcome back to Full Speed Ahead. I got my guest here, Sergeant BigCountry. That was Die Tired, the band. If you haven't heard yet, MBR and Die Tired have done a collaboration. If you find it on the website, mbradio.us, we have T-shirts out there for sale with MBR and Die Tired. A portion of those proceeds going back to giving veterans a voice. BigCountry, when we left, we were talking about the dark days. You turned that around. You shocked your kid walking on 2 feet. Changed your life, and you came out of the dark. So how did you find the courage to chase this para-athletic dream? Something, especially something as demanding as that.
Well, I mean, I got back in the gym, and my polytrauma case manager was like, "Hey, man, we got a recreational therapy department I want to introduce you to since you're in there lifting weights." And went and talked to the guys over there, and there was like, "Hey, there's a competition called the National Veteran Wheelchair Games. And it's in New York City." So I was like, all right, well, let's give it a shot. So we signed up for, field events, the shot put, disc, and javelin, and basketball. And I was like, let's just go try some things. And I took silver and bronze in disc and shot. And I was like, okay, I seem to be pretty decent at this. And, I knew about the Paralympics. So I came home and did some studying. And I was like, you know what? I played sports my entire life, even while I was in the military. Let's give it a shot. Let's see what we can do. So it's, we dialed our diet in and got to training. I actually, reached out to a couple of people on Instagram, found me a coach. My first throwing coach was Adrienne Wilson. She's a 4-time Highlander game champion, which is just, it's similar to field events, but you're throwing rocks and big tree stumps and stuff.
Oh,
and
all about them Highland games.
Yeah, so it was nice, and it gave me that purpose and gave me something to do, and I started losing weight, started feeling stronger again, and an amazing thing happened. Actually, we just passed our 4th year anniversary. My wife messaged me on TikTok on January 2nd in 2022. And, we kicked it off of, found the love of my life. And that was our first big year. I got 33 medals hanging on the wall from the last, 4 years of competing. And I'm ranked 3rd in the nation now. But it's gave me a purpose. And it's helped me inspire other, not just veterans, but other people with disabilities, to show them that, you don't have to sit at home just because you got a physical or mental impairment. You can actually use that as a superpower and live your best life. There's all kinds of things. The adaptive sports world, especially inside the veteran community, is amazing. You want to talk about a support group. I've met some of the most amazing people in the adaptive sports world. I got friends from all over the country, all over the world, for that matter. It's amazing. So, buckle down and practice and lift, and that's our day-to-day routine now. We're up at 3:30. Getting some water and some ACV and, some vitamins and stuff in, and eating and walking by 5 o'clock in the gym midday. It's amazing, man. It to come this far this quick. If you would have told me I'd be, ranked 3rd of the nation, in 3-4 years after starting, I'd have told you, yeah, right, whatever. But hard work has paid off.
Yeah, so it's safe to say then, going back to the support system, that being an athlete like that, working with others, that brings that same sense of pride and teamwork and camaraderie that we all miss from the service, right? That's what we're.
It does. It does, because a lot of the adaptive sports athletes that I have met are veterans. Now, of course, there are civilians athletes out there, but the most that I've met are veterans, because, since the war started back, 2001, we all got beat up pretty bad, during military service. So that's been a very large outlet for vets, is getting into that adaptive sports community and getting out there competing and getting back around each other.
Yeah. So when you're coming up, number 3 in men's seating discus, right? Was there a moment in your training or during a competition where your mind just kind of switched from, I'm not just doing this, but I'm owning it. I'm kicking ass at this, and I'm not just doing it for fun, but I'm actually, killing it out there. When did that switch for you?
That was my first full year of competing, which was 2022. I won my first international gold medal out in Arizona that year. Brought home a few gold medals that year, and it was just, I got the knack for it. I paid attention to what my coaches were saying and doing in practice, and it just came natural. And I'm like, okay, well, if we're this good, just starting off, I want to become the best. So that's where we're aiming for right now. But it was it was nice to pick up that disc, man. And my first competition, my throws were so crappy. Like they were only going out, just a few meters, because I didn't understand the technique and stuff behind it. But once I figured out the technique, and it came so naturally, and I started chunking it, that's when it really set in. Like, okay, I'm actually really good at this. So this is what we're going to aim for.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. You had to relearn to walk. So it's different doing discus with 2 legs, and now you're doing it as an amputee and with a metal leg. What kind of either physical or mental adjustment did it take for you to be able to do that, to teach yourself that?
To walk again or to throw?
To throw, to be the para athlete. Is there like a different kind of training and technique and mindset than an average athlete that has both legs?
Yeah, well, I mean, so I throw from a seated position.
Right.
There is some difference to it, but when it comes to holding the disc and the wind up and the release is just like a standing thrower. The only difference is I'm not spinning to give it that extra propulsion. So it's just, listening to your coaches and understanding the wind up and the reach backs and the chest expenditure and the little tips that they're showing you how that comes in handy to throw. I never threw disc or shot put growing up. I always played basketball. So I mean, just like anything else, man, you got to pay attention to your coaches and implement what they're telling you to, and eat right and go lift some heavy damn weights. So that way, when you're throwing something light, it goes really, really far.
So let's forget about the medals and the titles and everything, the 33 medals that you won, but being ranked number 3 in this event, what does that mean to you personally?
It's a big accomplishment. It shows, the hard work that we've put in and the dedication that's paid off, and, the support that my wife and my kids and my family give me means a lot. There's definitely been some days where it's like, you know what, I'm just done. We got some other things that we need to worry about. And my wife's like, no, yeah. You're not doing it. But it's nice to see that accomplishment. It's nice to see the hard work that you've put into it pay off. And, it's really nice when other vets want to come into this area of sports and get that same level of happiness and that, hey, I can do this, and that self accomplishment. It's great to give them something that's going to put them back on top of life.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this, and I ask people this that are usually amputees, right? So veterans coming out of service, maybe they're going to the VA, but they don't want to fight for that disability or those benefits because there's other people out there that are more deserving, right? There's other people out there that are hurt worse than them. What do you have to say to those veterans that are thinking and feeling that way, that think they don't deserve what's owed to them by the government, by the VA?
It's understandable why they think that way, but that's not the case. You served your country. You went through the trauma events. You went through the early hours of PT to the late hours of working at night. This is something that you deserve. Every vet that comes out that has issues, regardless if it's physical or mental, you deserve this help. Not only do you deserve it, but if you don't take it and you end up going to the doctor for something that's related to this down the road, instead of it being free and taken care of, you're going to put yourself in a bind by piling up all those medical bills. And then you're going to end up with specialists that don't really understand how to deal with your issues. and it can lead to more severe problems down the road. So yes, you're also 100% deserving of this. So take advantage. Go get the help that you need. Yeah. Go get your ratings and get that help, so that way life is easier for you. You served your country. You deserve to have the easiest way of life possible.
Yeah, you're absolutely right when it comes to that. And that's what I see in so many, like the older veterans nowadays, is it's so hard for them to get their benefits and their disability, because back in their time when they were serving, they didn't go to medical, right? They were told to suck it up, put on a new pair of socks and get to work. And there's not that paper trail of their accidents or their trauma or anything. So it's just like these new veterans. You know, I tell them, if you stub your toe, go put it in a medical record somewhere, because 5 years down the road, it might come back and bite you. And well, there's no paper trail. We're not going to hook you up on that, right?
Yep.
So,
yep.
You know, document. I know it sounds like an excuse to get out of work, but trust me, as somebody that's been there and still trying to fight the increasing the percentage, it's going to be worth it in the end, right?
It is. If it's not on paper, it never happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Pictures there didn't happen. So look, we're going to take another quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about the future. What's in the future for Big Country. All right, we'll be right back.
Sip of cold beer from my old man when I was 8 years old. He taught me to cheer for Earnhardt when he put the 24 in the wall. Cane poles popping, cats pulling up a truck line off a no-name road. I can try to change, but I already know I can't help it if my draw's a little too strong. I was raised on cranking up a country song. I was born and bred on a little cornbread in my backwoods style's homegrown. You might think I'm wild and reckless. I can't help it. Learn how to drive in Pops S10 with a 4-speed on the floor. And that brake barrel 410 broke in, shooting them coke cans off the porch. Sitting out back throwing gas on a pine pallet fire with a little bit of smoke. I can try to change, but I already know I can't help it if my draw's a little too strong. I was raised on cranking up a country song. I was born and bred on a little cornbread in my backwoods style's homegrown. You might think I'm wild and reckless. I can't help it. I can't help if I stomp my boots too hard on a Friday night. I can't help if I throw my hands on some loudmouth in a bar fight. You might think I'm a wild ass redneck. I can't help it. I can't help it. I can't help it if my draw's a little too. I was raised on cranking up a country
All right, and we're back on full speed ahead after battle with our guest, Sergeant Big Country. That was Dawson Edwards with Can't Help It. And just like in life, no matter what you go through, some things just don't change, right? Just like Mama's coming to town this weekend, that means I'm getting my fixing of biscuits and gravy because ain't nobody make it like Mama makes it. So can't help it sometimes. All right, so you told me a little while ago before the show started, you're getting up at 3:30 in the morning to go hit the gym because you got things to do this year. What's on the horizon for Big Country this year?
Well, it's 2026, man. So, we're in that grind time, these last little 5 months before comp season starts. Heading out to Clemson for the Palmetto games, back out to Arizona for the Desert Challenge, Peachtree games down in Georgia. We'll be in Detroit for the wheelchair games and should be back in Oregon for national championships end of July, man. So it's, keeping on ticking, man. Trying to get up and hopefully be able to claim that world championship one day. And the end goal is to be in the 2028 Paralympics in LA in the next couple of years. So, and just working hard, man, continuing to train and continue to help other veterans get into adaptive sports and continue to help them improve. We started up a nonprofit called Veterans Battlegrounds. We're hoping to put on an adaptive sports competition in 2028. Branch against branch, Paralympic style events held at Paralympic standards. But more to that coming down the road. But other than that, man, it's, the same thing we're at. Just keep on working for that end goal. Hopefully winning that gold medal in 2028.
Oh man, hopefully by then gold prices will be up. So what does the daily grind look like for you then? Wake up 3:30, hit the gym, meals. What does that look like for a day in the life of Big Country?
It's simple, man. You get up, we start off, 12-ounce glass of water, some apple cider vinegar, turmeric, lemon juice, to help get the gut going, a little bit of cardio, eat some meals, get to the appointments, usually in the gym by 10, 11 o'clock, get the weight training in, another cardio session. And when it warms up, we'll be back outside throwing. We just kind of run through some inside drills and stuff like that right now since it's cold outside. And then whatever the family needs, make sure dinner's cooked by the time wife gets home from work and help the kids out with whatever they need.
All right. Sounds good. So you got how many competitions coming up this year? Sorry about that.
Probably about 4 of them.
Okay.
We might slide a 5th one in there if we have time. I know they got the Angel City games out in LA. Don't know if we'll make it to that one, but we got 4 definite coming up.
So is there a solid group of team that you work with, athletes and trainers, and you work with, travel with, and all that, or you just kind of work out on your own and meet up with them for different events and stuff?
We meet up with everybody whenever it's time to compete. Training's pretty much on my own, except for when I'm working with my throwing coach.
Yeah. So earlier in the episode, you said you have to have a license to be a para-athlete. Is that what
yes
it is?
Yes. If you're wanting to eventually compete in the Paralympics, you have to have an IPC license.
Okay.
You can actually Google that IPC license and it'll pop right up. It'll take you to the page. You got to get a membership with the USATF, which is the United States America Track and Field. You got to start a membership up with that. And then it explains to you what medical documentation that you have to go get from your doctors, what physicals. It's a little bit of work because you actually have to show and prove your injuries and stuff like that. And then once all that's done and you get your license, you need to find a international classification. There's a couple of competitions that has those here in the U.S. You got to get internationally classified. And then once you get that, you just got to keep competing and hope that you're, you get that good enough to where you get ranked.
So aside from going for that license, what would be the first step for veterans that are looking to get into this para-athletic system? What do they need to be doing?
Find a sport that they want to get into and learn what they can about it as much as they can about it, because that's the key. If you want to swim, find out what you need to know about the swimming part. But you need to find a sport and start dedicating yourself to it.
Okay. All right. So sounds like you got a lot of good stuff coming up as far as para-athletics. Before we end the show, I want to go back just real quick. For those veterans coming out of the service right now, whether they're injured, they're not injured, whatever, what is the best piece of advice that you can give to them?
Don't give up on yourself. Surround yourself with the people that want to see you succeed. Surround yourself with family. Don't isolate yourself. And your disabilities are a hindrance. They're a superpower for you to live your best life, and it will inspire somebody else to continue theirs.
All right. So I'm going to let you go get some sleep, but real quick, I always do a 2-minute drill, right? For every guest that comes on here. 2 minutes to speak your heart, speak your mind, put it out there into the world, whatever you want to do. Floor is yours.
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank my family, my wife, all the support that I get from my family, my supporters, my sponsors, Anthony, the 1228 Agency, Global Garcia Media, Really Designs, Betcom, Doc's Roofing, Ted Fox, Papa Top, and Ford Throws. Thank you for all your support that you gave me, and let's keep rocking it and kicking ass this year.
All right, Big Country, it's been a pleasure. Good luck with everything going on, and I hope you get that number one, man. I hope you get that goal.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for having me on.
All right, take care. All right, today's episode was a reminder of why we do this. Sergeant Big Country Conwell showed us what resilience looks like when the world knocks you flat and dares you to stay down. His journey from losing a limb to rebuilding identity to becoming one of the top para-athletes in the country is proof that the story doesn't end when the uniform comes off. It evolves, it sharpens, it demands courage in a whole new way. If his words hit you tonight, don't let that feeling fade. Share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Reach out to a brother or a sister who's been quiet. And remember, the transition may be brutal, but none of us walk it alone. Next week, we're shifting gears, but staying in the fight. Joining us will be Daniel McGowan, a certified alcohol and drug counselor, interventionist, and motivational speaker who has spent years pulling people back from the edge. He's helped families heal. He's guided veterans through addiction and recovery, and he brings a perspective that hits hard and lands deep. You're not going to want to miss that conversation. As always, thank you for tuning in to Full Speed Ahead After Battle on Military Broadcast Radio, giving veterans a voice. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And until next time, full speed ahead. Dismissed.
Life is like a duck. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Here at Military Broadcast Radio, we're teaming up with our friends at Die Tired, the veteran-friendly music band spreading strength, resilience, and mental health awareness one shirt at a time.
And check this out. Their brand new shirts feature broadcast beaker right on the breast pocket. A reminder that you can weather the storm and you're never alone.
Shirts are only $25 and proceeds support giving veterans a voice. MBR's mission to teach veterans how to podcast and videocast. Because when our vets are talking, they're not overthinking. They're not second-guessing. Together, we stop the 22 stigma. Grab your shirt today at mbradio.us and hit the shop. Or go directly to toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband. That's toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband.
Suit up, stand strong.
Remember, we're unduckable together.
You're built tougher than the storm.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.